Investment advisory services offered through Alpha Star Capital Management, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Alpha Star Capital Management, LLC, and Swan Capital are independent entities.
What your money would say. Andrew McNair. Money Talks. Are you listening? Money Talks. Are you listening? Money Talks. Are you listening? What your money would say with Andrew McNair.
We're live here on What Your Money Would Say. I'm your host, Andrew McNair, and for the next 30 minutes every Saturday from 12:30 to 1 o'clock, we'll be taking financial chickens and making them financial swans. But what does a financial swan even mean? It means to sleep well at night. And I believe as a retiree, you've worked your entire life to get to this point. You know, you found a way to put 3 kids through college. You worked overtime to put money in your 401k. And you were even able to give to your local charities and put extra money in the offering plate. But it's time that you sleep well at night. It's a time where you can no longer have to worry about retirement planning, running out of money in assisted living. It can be different. That doesn't have to be your reality. And today's show is Don't Go Broke in an Assisted Living. And I'm going to share with you some insights as a financial advisor that I've helped many clients of mine make sure that they never have to have that worry about running out of money in assisted living. And this show is live, so you can call anytime at 478-3116. That's 478-3116. So keep that number near. If you have any questions throughout the show, be sure to give us a call, and we'll try to answer your question as best as possible. But why is planning for long-term care expenses, making sure that you don't go broke in assisted living, so important? Well, I feel it's because many families need to understand that how much long-term care really costs. And if you understood that, it should be a fear in the back of your mind if you haven't planned for it. Because long-term care insurance is very expensive. And there's no agency that's there to save you. There's no government net that's going to save you in assisted living. You know, Medicare will not cover assisted living or home health care. They'll cover it for 20 days, but not over a long-term period. Also, Medicaid will only help you in a nursing home. It's not meant to be a long-term solution or the only solution for your long-term care expenses. Also, Obama's not going to save you either. I know he's tried to save everybody in every way, but he can't save you with long-term care expenses. That's why he kept it out of Obamacare, because it is just a large expense that the government can't afford, and they depend on you to be able to save and make sure that you can pay for these expenses. And so if you're a veteran, and luckily we live with in a community that's full of veterans and their widows, I'm going to share with you a little known VA benefit to help pay for those expenses. And I'm also going to share with you a long-term care insurance alternative if you think long-term care insurance is just too expensive. I'm going to share with you all those solutions if you just stay tuned for the next 30 minutes or so. So if you say, Andrew, I don't want to call and have my question live on the air, I want to just sit down with you and find out how a veteran can receive up to $25,000 a year tax-free from the VA, or if I'm a widow of a veteran, how I can receive up to $1,130 a month tax-free to help pay for home health care, assisted living, or nursing home. I urge you to sign up for our VA eligibility consultation. It's a free 45-minute consultation at our office where we walk through the eligibility requirements for a benefit called Aid in Attendance that we're going to go into great detail today. And you can call our office at 380-9558. That's 380-9558. And we'll be sure to go through that intake with you to make sure that you or your elder parent or a loved one is eligible for these benefits. But the benefit that I want to talk about in particular is called the non-service connected improved pension benefit with Aid in Attendance. Gosh, I can't even say it one time, not let alone 3 times fast. So I prefer Aid in Attendance. It's a lot shorter. It's a lot easier to say. And if you've never heard of this benefit, it's actually located in the VA benefits booklet that's handed out at almost nearly every VA clinic or VA hospital. And it's a benefit that was designed in 1951. So this benefit's been around for a long, long time to help pay for and supplement veterans and their widows. The benefit ranges from $1,130 a month tax-free all the way up to $2,085 tax-free for veterans and veteran and spouse if they both need care. So it's a very significant benefit when we're talking about long-term care expenses that on an average cost $4,800 a month to be in assisted living. And those costs are increasing to 5 to 8% a year. So to help combat that, the VA has set up a benefit to help offset those expenses. And so if you're just tuning in to What Your Money Would Say, and I'm your host, Andrew McNair, and we're talking about a benefit called Veteran Aid and Attendance. And it's under the umbrella of this show of making sure that you don't run dry in assisted living. And we're talking about the eligibility requirements for this benefit. They're going to look at military, financial, and health. So I want to go down every single eligibility so that you can make sure that you or a loved one can be eligible for these VA benefits to help offset these long-term care expenses. So grab a pen and a paper as we go down each one. The first one is no dishonorable discharge. Luckily, I deal with a lot of honorable men and women that served our country very valiantly, and they served honorably and were discharged so. So as long as you were not dishonorably discharged, you'll be fine. The second one has to do with military service. So many families come into our office, either my nonprofit's office, the Veteran Benefit Project, or Swan Capital, and they say, Andrew, I did not serve long enough to get these VA benefits, or I didn't see combat, and I never carried a machine gun. There's no way I could be eligible for VA benefits. Well, it surprises people that they only have to serve 90 days active service with at least 1 day during a wartime period. And I'm going to go over those wartime service dates in just a second. Also, the next one is you have to be either disabled or over age 65. Now, how many of you are actually over age 65? A lot of people are probably raising their hands right now. So if you're a veteran or a widow of a veteran and are over the age of 65, you probably either will qualify for this benefit now or will in the future. The next thing they're going to look at, I said health. So what do they mean by health? They're looking at medical ADLs, activities of daily living. So that's like meal preparation, transportation, someone helping out with medication management, financial management. And you might be saying, well, Andrew, that's my mom or my dad. Right now they need help with all those things. But either they're already living in assisted living or they need to, but it's just so expensive. How do you pay for that? Well, this is what this VA benefit was designed to do. This benefit pays anywhere from $1,130 up to $2,085 tax-free a month to help offset these expenses. So if you want to find out if you're eligible or if a loved one like an elder parent is eligible for these benefits, call our office at 380-9558. That's 380-9558. And we'll go through a free 45-minute consultation to make sure that your loved one is eligible. It doesn't cost anything to find out, and the worst case is the answer is no, they're not eligible. But many times they are. Now, if you're saying, Andrew, I got a question, I want to ask it right now, call our show. It is live. The phone lines are open. Call at 478-3116. That's 478-3116. So if you're just tuning in, we're talking about veteran aid and attendance. We walk through the eligibility requirements, military, financial, and health. Military had to serve at least 90 days active service during a wartime period. Financial, most families have the income test down pat because if you're paying for assisted living, it really washes out your income. And most of the times, families are going to negative every month, so you'll probably meet the financial test. Very few families don't. Health, many families, if you're in an assisted living nursing home, you're passing the ADL test, the activities of daily living test that they have set out. So you'll probably pass all three of those. But I do want to go over some stats to just really, pull back the curtain on how these VA benefits are so underutilized. And this is actually taken from a VA study on VA benefits. They're pretty startling. It says nearly 2 million veterans or their widows are likely missing out on as much as $22 billion a year in pensions from the VA. That's $22 billion with the B. So Congress has set aside $22 billion to help pay for this veteran aid and attendance benefit to help offset home health care expenses, assisted living expenses, and nursing home costs for wartime veterans and their spouses. They set aside this money, yet we're not even scratching the surface of this benefit. So and you already know the answer to this question. So if the government doesn't pay those benefits that they've outlined for veterans, what do they do with it? Well, the government are not the best money managers in the world. They just don't refund your tax money back to you on April 15th, do they? They find somewhere else to go spend it, and it goes into the big black hole of government spending. So my nonprofit, the Veteran Benefit Project, has a passion of helping getting these $22 billion in the hands of the families that deserve it, which are our veterans, because freedom isn't free, and it does come at a cost. So if you're over the age of 65 and are a veteran or a widow of a wartime veteran, or maybe potentially your elder parent is a widow or a veteran, they could be eligible for up to $1,130 as a widow tax-free, or up to $2,085 if they're both living in assisted living. So you want to make sure, if they're eligible, that they're receiving these benefits. Now, another startling statistic says that widows are hit the hardest. And I can really attest to this. Many times, about 70 to 80% of the families I deal with are the widows. And it's really outweighs, I guess it's because the women just kill us. I don't know. The women last longer and they need these benefits. And it's a shame that widows, once their husband passes, thinks that they've lost out on all their benefits. And it's a shame because this benefit was specifically designed for widows of wartime veterans. So if you're a widow of a wartime veteran, don't assume that your benefits have ran out because your husband has passed. And this benefit is close to my heart because I believe, as a widow of a wartime veteran, if you weren't there while he was fighting in the wartime, he would have never been able to be the soldier he was without you taking care of the home front. So you're as eligible as he is for these benefits. So if you're just tuning in to What Your Money Would Say, we are talking about veteran aid and attendance to make sure that you do not go broke in assisted living. And this little to known benefit helps families offset the very expensive cost of assisted living, home health care, and nursing home costs. And you can call the show live at 478-3116. That's 478-3116. And we'll answer your question live on the air. Now, if you're saying, Andrew, I don't want to, put my business out on the air. I want to come in and see if my loved one is eligible. Well, you can call our office at 380-9558. That's 380-9558. And we'll be happy to answer your question and make sure that they're eligible at that meeting. Now, what we are going to do is just a few minutes, we're going to go to a commercial break. But I want to go over the wartime service dates before I do that. Again, so many families disqualify themselves before they're even eligible, to make sure they disqualify themselves before they even know if they're eligible or not. And they say, well, Andrew, I never served in Korea. I never carried a machine gun. I wasn't in the bush. You didn't have to do all those things. You could have been developing film in Texas. Now, before we're going to go to a break in just a second, but we're going to come back and talk about specific dates to make sure that your loved one is meeting those wartime service dates. We'll be right back.
Today's financial landscape can be rough. One of the most important aspects of planning is choosing the right guide to help you navigate the road to retirement. Andrew McNair and the team at Swan Capital is dedicated to providing the very best service in the retirement planning industry today. Swan Capital is a full-service independent wealth management firm dedicated to providing guaranteed custom income plans that you cannot outlive. Contact Andrew McNair at Swan Capital 850-380-9558. That's 850-380-9558. The difference between Swan Capital and you retire once. We help people retire every day. You should be enjoying your retirement years, not letting worry keep you up at night. Swan Capital. Sleep well at night. Contact Andrew McNair at Swan Capital 850-380-9558. That's 850-380-9558. Again, that's 850-380-9558.
The Veteran Benefit Project, founded by Andrew McNair, president of Swan Capital, is a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping veterans and widows of veterans with long-term care expenses by qualifying for the VA's Aid and Attendance Benefit. Learn how to receive over $24,000 per year from the VA towards long-term health care. There is absolutely no fee associated with our assistance to the veteran, the widow of a veteran, their families, or any retirement community. Our goal is to preserve the dignity of the veteran and to reduce the dependency on the Medicaid system. Again, learn how to receive over $24,000 per year from the VA. Contact the Veteran Benefit Project 850-380-5137. That's 850-380-5137. 850-380-5137. Look us up on the web, myveteranbenefit.com. At the Veteran Benefit Project, we are committed to helping you secure the benefits you deserve.
Welcome back to What Your Money Would Say. I'm your host, Andrew McNair, and today's show is Don't Go Broke in Assisted Living if you don't have to. And we're sharing with families solutions how you can do that. And one of those solutions was the Veteran Aid and Attendance Benefit. And we're going to get back to those wartime service states to make sure that your loved one did serve during a wartime. But I also want to talk about another solution that if you're not a veteran that you may be interested in. And that is a long-term care insurance alternative. Most families are familiar with traditional long-term care insurance, how you pay $3,000 to $5,000 a year, and if you don't use it, you lose it. Doesn't sound like a great solution I'm interested in, too. But here's another alternative. What if you could take $50,000 or $100,000 or whatever number you earmark for long-term care insurance needs, instead of just keeping it in a savings account, earning maybe point nothing or 1%, we got the CD-like rates and we still had some liquidity. But if you ever need that money, it can be times by 3 tax-free for long-term care expenses. So let me play that out for you. If you have $100,000, it will grow at a 1% CD-like rate. But if you need it for long-term care expenses, they times it by 3. So now you have $100,000 that turned into $300,000 tax-free. It sounds too good to be true. It isn't. Call our office so you can go through a long-term care preparation assessment. It's a 45-minute consultation where we share with you what your options are to make sure that you are ready for long-term care expenses. But let's get back to the veterans benefits that really have helped a lot of my clients and their parents be able to afford either assisted living, home health care, or nursing home expenses. And we stopped at the wartime service dates. Now, again, so many families say, I didn't carry a machine gun, I never went into the bush, I never served overseas. You don't have to. You could have been developing film in Texas, and as long as you're in the window of the wartime period, you'll be fine. And they look at World War II, Korean War, Vietnam is counted as well, and the Gulf War. But I want to give you a particular, I can't go over every wartime service date because that would take up the whole show, but I will go over the World War II dates just to make sure you understand it. What they're going to look at is it's from 41 to 46. Now, if you're a history buff, you say, well, 46, that don't make sense. World War II ended in August of 45. Well, what they did is they extended the dates to make sure that soldiers that got in early or got in late were still eligible for these benefits. So if you got in 45, they extended the date till December 31st, 1946 for World War II veterans as a great example of how they extended those wartime service dates, which really helps a lot of families that got in late into these wars. So if you're saying, well, Andrew, what have you been talking about for the last 20 minutes? We're talking about Veteran Aid and Attendance, a benefit where a family can receive anywhere from $1,130 all the way up to $2,085 tax-free to help pay for assisted living, home health care, and nursing home expenses. We talked about the eligibility requirements. Of course, no dishonorable discharge. There's multiple ways you can be discharged from the military. As long as you were no dishonorable discharge, you'll be fine. 90 days active duty with at least 1 day during a wartime period, which is most people. We've been in war since about 1812, so we can probably at least find 1 day during those wartime service dates. You have to be over age 65. Many families that are listening to my show are over age 65, so you probably meet that requirement. The next one is ADLs, activities of daily living. if you have an elder parent, you know exactly what I'm talking about with ADLs. That's like meal preparation, transportation, medication management, help with financial management. If they have any of those, about 8 or so ADLs, then they will qualify for these benefits. So if you have a question that you want to ask right now, we'll give you a chance to do that. The phone lines are open. You can call at 478-3116. That's 478-3116, and we'll be happy to answer your question live on the air. If you're saying, Andrew, I don't want to put all my business on the air. I want to make sure that my loved one is eligible, but I want to have a one-on-one meeting and, shake your hand and meet you face to face. Well, here's an opportunity to do that. We have a free 45-minute consultation that we meet, and it's called a VA eligibility intake, where we walk through these eligibility requirements and compare it to their personal situation to make sure that you qualify. Now, during that meeting, we're going to look through every eligibility to make sure if there's a chance that they're eligible, that we'll push as hard as we can to make sure that they're eligible, because I believe that freedom isn't free and it comes at a cost, and we want to make sure that veterans retire with dignity. Now, after you apply, how does the VA application process take? How long does it take? How does it work? Well, that scares a lot of people. And what my nonprofit does is if someone is eligible, we handhold them through the application process, because many families are familiar with the red tape that goes along with VA paperwork or any government paperwork. Well, we try to snip through that red tape and cut through it to make sure families don't have to wait 12 months, 18 months to get their benefits. Our track record, we try to shoot for 3 or 4 months to get families their VA benefits, because 3 or 4 months in an 85 or 90-year-old's life is a long time, and we don't have 3 or 4 months to waste. So we want to make sure that they get the VA benefits now if they're eligible. Also, time is of the essence. Many families will come to me again, and they'll say, Andrew, I could have been eligible for this a year ago. Why didn't I apply? Don't I get the back pay from a year ago? And unfortunately, they don't. It goes back to retroactive based on the date of the application. And if you don't apply, they don't know that you're eligible for these benefits. So if you apply and it takes 4 months, you also will get retroactive pay based on the date of the application. So let me give you an example. If it's $1,130 and it takes 4 months, you get $4,000 in back pay, then the $1,130 for the rest of your life. Now, what if you are a divorced spouse? Unfortunately, I don't make the rules, but I help people go with the rules. Unfortunately, the VA says that if you divorce the benefits. And I get that question a lot, and that's a question we just got. If your family member was married multiple times and that gets a little bit more complicated, I urge you to sign up for your intake to make sure that if the loved one is potentially eligible, we'll try our best to get them eligible. But we do have a question from Donna. Donna, welcome to What Your Money Would Say.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing better than I deserve. Truly outstanding.
Good. Well, I'm trying to get my dad into the home over in Biloxi.
Okay.
And I've sent in all the paperwork, but they tell me that there's one more paper he needs, and I don't know how to fill it out. Can you help with that?
Yeah. That's not our expertise. Typically, we do deal just with veteran aid and attendance, but lots of families like yourself come to us for help with other VA paperwork. I will do my best. My office will help you to fill out that paperwork, and if we can't fill it out, we'll point you in the right direction with someone that can. So absolutely, call our office.
Okay. Could you give me your number?
Sure will. It's 850-380-9558. That's 850-380-9558.
Okay, Andrew. Well, I will be calling you. I thank you so much.
Oh, I appreciate your father's service. Thank you for calling.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. What a fantastic question. There are VA homes available for veterans that served our country, and I'm glad that there are those homes that are set up. Now, some of them are you have to be on a long waiting list, as Donna can probably attest to. Sometimes you can get through very quick. But if you're saying, Andrew, I don't want to travel to Biloxi, I don't want to travel to the one in Florida, I want to just go to an assisted living here. How do I afford that? Well, the Veteran Aid and Attendance Benefit is a benefit that there's 4 different benefit statuses. So I'm going to go into detail about that. But those benefits pay for assisted living, home health care. So if you don't want to go into assisted living, it'll pay for home health care expenses to help make sure that you can stay in your home if you want to, and also nursing home expenses. Well, those 4 benefits, let me break it down to you. The first one is the Veteran Single Benefit. If you're a veteran that was either never married or is a widow themselves, you could be eligible for up to $1,758 a month tax-free to help pay for these expenses, these long-term care expenses. Now, if you and your wife are still living, that's called the Veteran and Spouse Benefit. You could be eligible for up to $2,085 a month. Now, what about those widows we were talking about early in the show? You remember 6 out of 7 widows that are eligible? 6 of that 7 are missing out on these benefits. They could be likely missing out on as much as $1,130 a month. And then there's a veteran with dependent. Let's say you're doing fine, but your spouse needs care. You could be eligible for over $1,300 a month. And guess what? Those benefits are tax-free. I don't know about you, but it seems harder and harder to find things that are tax-free. And about the only thing that is our air. And if the EPA could get a hold of that, they'd probably tax us on that too. So it's nice to get tax-free benefits when we're eligible and when we can. So if you think your loved one is eligible for these benefits, or if you want to make sure that you're protected from long-term care expenses and you're a veteran and served during a wartime period, I want to give you a few phone numbers. The first one is for the VA eligibility intake. To make sure that you're eligible, we'll go through the eligibility requirements. It's a 45-minute consultation, and we'll compare it to your personal situation to make sure that your loved one is eligible. You can call our office at 380-9558. That's 380-9558. Or check us out at veteranbenefitproject.com. That's veteranbenefitproject.com, and you can check it out there. Also, the show is live, as you just found out with Donna's question. If you have a question that you want to ask, call us at 478-3116. That's 478-3116, and we'll be happy to answer your question live on the air. So the benefit we've been talking about for the last 20 or so minutes is the Veteran Aid and Attendance Benefit. But you may be saying, Andrew, I'm not eligible for VA benefits. What should I do? Well, you need to put the preparation in your own hands and make sure that your future is protected from long-term care expenses, and make sure your family's protected as well, because you don't want to leave your spouse destitute. And you can do that with the only insurance that protects assets. The only insurance that protects assets is called long-term care insurance. Now, many families are used to the traditional kind, the pay-as-you-go, pretty much. You know, it's like car insurance or home insurance. You pay it if you need it, and you lose it if you don't. And I'm not a big fan of it. I have seen some people that had some older policies that work great, but those older policies, they don't make them like they used to, you know, that old saying. But there are long-term care insurance alternatives, and I want to share with you that alternative real quick. If you have $50,000, $25,000, $100,000, you can take that asset that's earning nothing in a bank, a point nothing, and put it over into what I call a long-term care bank that's going to earn good rates of returns that are competitive with CDs. But if you ever need those assets for long-term care expenses, they'll times the benefit by 3. So they'll take your $100,000 and turn it into $300,000 that you can use tax-free. I know it sounds too good to be true. What would it hurt to call our office and find out if it's not? Call us at 380-9558. That's 380-9558. And we'd be happy to answer your questions on either the VA benefits or the long-term care benefits that are available. It's been a pleasure speaking with you on What Your Money Would Say and making sure that you don't go broken in assisted living. But I look forward to next week's show when we talk about how to prepare your real estate holdings for estate planning and probate. You don't want to miss the show. See you next time on What Your Money Would Say.